transit, and our bike and ped facilities. As part of our annual work program, here's a slide showing our metro area that we serve. As part of our annual work program, we conduct trail counts across the metro between May and October. And we wanted to show you some of our recent counts from 2020 to give you an idea of how patterns have changed since the onset of COVID-19. We suspect trail usage may be up this year because of COVID-19, but we cannot say for certain. But we've gone ahead and collected 7 counts this year, a few in the spring and a few in the fall. And I'm just going to run through 3 of them here. So the first one is the North Liberty Trail at Forever Green Road. You can see that in 2020, we had a significant increase up to 406 users. This is near the intersection of Coralville and North Liberty there. On the Iowa River Trail at Terry Trueblood Recreation Area, we collected 2 counts, one in the spring of 2020 and then one in the fall. And you can see that that fall count really jumped as compared to the previous 4 years. And we're really thinking that that is likely due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Finally, here is our Clear Creek Trail counts. This is at Camp Cardinal Boulevard. We again did 2 counts in 2020, one in the spring and one in the fall. And you can see the fall count had about 200 more users as compared to the spring count. So it really shows that people are getting out there. They're using our trails as a healthy alternative to, going to gyms, being in recreation facilities, things like that. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Sarah Walls, who's going to introduce the Trails to Table Challenge and then our guests today.
Thanks, Emily, and thanks everybody for being here. So the Trails to Table Challenge, this is something we're doing this year. It's part of every year the MPO with our member communities. So Coralville, North Liberty, Iowa City, University Heights, and Tiffin. We've always engaged in a fun little, between the staffs of the different communities, a charitable drive around the holiday season. And this year, because of COVID-19, with so many staff working at home and just other challenges that we're facing, the MPO staff, which there are just 5 of us, we said, let's try something different this year. And so we knew, as Emily just talked about, that trail usage was way up. And we knew that there's also, some mental health concerns because people are feeling isolated and alone. And we said, let's really try to promote our trails over the winter. We knew that some communities were plowing extra trails for the year because of rec centers being closed down. And we knew that Coralville was doing some interesting things with grooming the fat tire trails and trails for cross-country skiing. So we said, let's really push the trails. And while we're doing that, we'll also try to raise some money for our local food pantries. So if you're watching today, we would encourage you to donate to the local food pantries. There are links on our Facebook page and through our Instagram. And also if you go to mpojc.org and scroll to the very bottom on the lower left to our Trails to Table link, it'll show you where to donate there, and we'll send all of the money will be divided between the 3 food pantries. We're, as part of the challenge, we're again posting a lot to Facebook and Instagram about our MPO staff. We're riding, walking, and jogging all of the 100 miles of hard surface trails within the metro area, and we're also posting lots of fun maps and information, trying to engage all of you and encourage you to go out and try out those trails. And so this map of the Clear Creek Trail is available on our website, mpojc.org. If you go to that Trails to Table, you'll find all of the maps that we've been doing. And the Clear Creek Trail is a favorite trail, and it's one that has benefited from state and federal funding, and some of that funding comes through the MPO. We know that you've gotten at least $3.3 million in state and federal funding for the construction of this more than 9-mile trail, and 1.3 of that has come through the MPO. And so we're really excited for Alex and Sherri to both tell us about what's going on with the trail this time of year and plans in the future. So I'll let Alex and Sherri take over.
Very good. Thank you,
Sherri, you're on
Sarah.
mute. Sherri, you're on mute. You're muted.
Sorry,
There you
I
go.
couldn't see my stuff with the share screen. Do you have the ability to pass the share screen over to us? We have a PowerPoint to put up.
You should be good to go.
Okay. Let me see if I can run this from the beginning.
Great.
Run from the, get it a little bit bigger. Okay, can everyone see
It's good.
Clear Creek Greenbelt Trails at the top? Okay, all right. Well, thank you. And we're always excited to talk about the Clear Creek Trail. I think I've been the director of Parks and Rec here in the city of Coralville since 2005. And we've been working on the Clear Creek Trail since 1999. So it's just always a part of what I do, and getting either whether it's writing grants or looking at new ways to use the Greenbelt. We have over 300 acres that we manage along the southern end of Coralville, and we can almost say the Clear Creek Trail goes through the whole thing. We will be able to do that here when we make our connection under 80 and 380. So let's see, I'm going to go into next slide. Clear Creek, this just gives you an overview of where we're at, where the Clear Creek Trail runs. And we often talk about the Clear Creek Trail itself, but we are no longer just a hard surface trail in the Clear Creek Greenbelt. So both Alex and I will talk today about how we've expanded recreational opportunities in that area. So the yellow line depicts where the hard surface trails run in the Clear Creek Greenbelt, and the black line is where all of our natural surface trails go. And we have over 6 miles in the Woodpecker single track. And we also have trail at Creekside Cross and the Flow Trail out at Creekside Sports Park. So we've got a number of opportunities that we have going on there. So
Real quick, Sherri, sorry to interrupt. Is everybody seeing the next slide?
Yes.
okay, so the PowerPoint's running.
Mhm.
Can you not see
Okay.
it running, Alex?
It's not running for me, but I can open it up on my screen, I guess.
Do you need a minute to? You want me to? Why don't I stop
Try the
sharing?
view in the upper right-hand corner, Alex.
Yeah, I'm still on the beginning screen for whatever reason.
I'm going to do a stop share and a reshare just to see if that helps.
There we go.
That-
That's the third slide, I think, into the
That's
woods.
the third thing. Yeah.
Got it.
So we are, before we talk about winter, just what we're doing in the winter, we are definitely off the beaten path now with trails in the Clear Creek Greenbelt. So we're into the woods. Oops, it didn't go to the next slide for me. Why is it not working? Okay,
Try
now
using
I'm locked.
your right and left arrows on your keyboard.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Through ravines. This is a shot out at Creekside Cross where we've cut through some of our ravines to put in trail there over creeks. Great picture of our Parks and Rec Commission looking at some of the work that our staff has done out at both Woodpecker and at Creekside Cross and Flow Trail. And these are also both of our staffs working on these areas. And then over wetlands, these are boardwalks we've put in over wetlands in the Woodpecker single track trail. And again, our staff and ICOR, Iowa Coalition of Off-Road Riders, have been responsible for doing a lot of this boardwalk work that you'll see out there. So our winter trail, this year, this is the first time we put up a winter trail map. And with COVID, not only with just COVID, but also with, we've had a couple of routes come on board in the city here in the last year that helps our commuters be able to commute for to get to work. So that was kind of the emphasis behind doing a winter trail map and getting that out to the community. But along the southern border, you can see where the Clear Creek Trail is, and we groom that for cross-country skiing and fat tire riding, and promote that for winter bird watching, snowshoeing, the green belt, all we promote in that way in the winter.
I should say, Sherri, on that map, we've the MPO has put out a snowplow map where we've used yours. It's on our MPO page, again, that Trails to Table page, because some of those blue lines where that Coralville's not plowing, either Iowa City or the county are plowing some of those along the edge, like North Dubuque and Camp Cardinal and through the peninsula. So I just wanted to get that out.
Yeah, and Scott Larson and I can work a little bit more on this map. I think he just has a note that it might be being groomed by somebody else because it's not Coralville. It's not in the Coralville limit. So yeah, we can work a little bit more on that. So yeah, let's see. I'm gonna go to organized. Let's see. I gotta go one more. There we go. Sorry, I just had to see where we're at. So winter activities, I'm going to turn over to Alex to talk about how we're grooming the Woodpecker Single Track Trail, which is in the Clear Creek Greenbelt.
Thanks, Sherri. I'm Alex Buhmeyer. I'm the park superintendent here in Coralville. I've been here for a little over 4 years and been able to, among many things, focus on trail work and construction and maintenance. Cycling and trails are definitely one of my passions, so it's been really awesome being part of the community here. So thanks for having us and thanks for hosting this. So yeah, Woodpecker, we're focusing a lot of our winter activities for grooming. I'll go through that, but as you can see here on this map, we have approximately 6.5 miles of single track trail, and it's accessible through our paved network as well as at Camp Cardinal Boulevard at the Tom Harkin Trailhead. So I'll talk about that a little bit and how we've developed that later. But as far as winter recreation, if you could advance, Sherri. So this picture on the upper left-hand corner would be what trail conditions would look like without snow or very little snow. We're still allowing them to be ridden during the winter, but we do ask that they are only ridden at temperatures below freezing. Anything above that, we're going to start rutting them out. So we do ask that, so that rider there is enjoying the trail in frozen conditions and not running up the trail condition. So the lower picture shows a groomed trail, and this is recent. This was taken just last week. Like Sherri mentioned, we have a partnership with Iowa Coalition of Off-Road Riders, and they are actively grooming this trail now with all this awesome snow we've had. So when the trail is groomed, we're asking to please reduce your tire pressure on your bike, and there's a PSI recommendation there on the PowerPoint. Please advance, Sherri.
And they also stress fat tire and mid-fat tire, anything greater than, is it 3.8 inches of tire size that they'd like to keep on those trails.
So we hosted our first Yeti pedal event last year. That was really fun. We had a fire right outside in the Tom Harkin Trailhead. Some beverages. I think Sherri brought some hot chocolate and some snacks. Shields was there with some demo bikes, and some members of I-Corps also there with fat bikes. And yeah, it was a really great event. We're planning on doing the same again this year in February, the 6th from 1 to 3. So hopefully we have some good snow conditions then as well. The picture on the left is again the groomed trail, and we're asking that hikers do not hike on the trail surface. So you can see people have been honoring that as far as walking on the side there. You can see some footprints, and then the groomed trail remains intact. If you're walking on that with regular shoes, you can't sink below the groomed surface. So again, we're allowing fat bike tires, cross-country skis, and then snowshoeing on the groomed surface. And you can kind of see that with the signage there. Here's a picture of Clear Creek Trail groomed. So we just started this also, and this is kind of tricky. Sherri's going to talk about this quick right after this slide, but we're trying to groom on the side of it for cross-country skiing, and then also a fat bike trail within it also. But there are some conflicts, and Sherri can talk about that next.
Yeah, we do have, the University of Iowa has groomed for cross-country skiing for some time. We're taking over with the Snow Dog, and with ICOR, we're taking over that grooming, as well as adding the fat tire and trying to put more controls in place, because otherwise it looks like this. This was taken yesterday, just east of like the IHOP area, or west of the IHOP area. And so people haven't tramped on the concrete trail, but here you can see, this was taken yesterday as well, right out of Tom Harkin Trailhead going east. And you can no longer see where we've groomed for either one of those. Both of those had been groomed for cross-country skiing and for fat tire riding, but people are just getting out and walking with their normal street shoes on that trail, so we just have to figure out the right combination of getting the word out that the Clear Creek Trail in the wintertime is for winter sports and not for regular tennis shoes and regular tires. So moving on, we also have crossed the Coralville Creekside Cross, which we've, I don't know if we've started grooming that, Alex, yet, but we intend to get some of that groomed for cross-country skiing and snowshoeing as well, and fat tire riding.
That's coming up. I talked to ICOR folks about that. So we're going to get the cross-country ski groomer in this week. And then their intent is to groom that. And I also talked to the folks at Ashton through the university, and they expressed for grooming for skate skiing out there. So hopefully that happens this week. Great.
So this will be not only winter, but just in general, some information about Creekside Cross. We opened this in August of 2017. Took us about 5 months of construction, and we did all of this in-house with volunteers from ICOR. Great Hawkeye Day of Caring, as well as our staff worked on this. We spent $4,500 to come up with over 2 miles of new cross course area. And Goosetown Bike Club also was involved in helping us get this off the ground and getting it going. So it's been a really great addition to our community. This is what it looks like in when there's no snow on the ground. You can see the paths go not only along parallel with the hillside, but also perpendicular to the hillside. Picture of us cutting the ribbon. Our grand opening there, we had over 200 people come out and ride on the day that we opened this trail. So it's probably next to the theater. This is probably one of our biggest grand openings we've had in terms of park facilities. So everybody was really eager to come out and try it out. I'll let Alex talk about how we set this up for racing and what that means to as far as an economic driver to our community.
So we've had, I think, two races on the Iowa State Cyclocross Series, I think is what they call it. And usually the cycling club set that up. We're providing the venue, but a lot of it's, Goosetown or ICOR or different cycling groups hosting these events. The first one in 2017 or 2018 was a success. We end up, can you go back to the route real quick, Sherri? So we can kind of see that. It's pretty fun that, there's different opportunities of how we can organize the race, as far as through the flats, then along the terraces there. And then there's a section that goes through the woodlands with a bridge to cross over. And then with some of the history of the property, there's some barns up in the northwest corner of the map there you can see. So on race day, we're actually running the course through the barns, and some of the slides coming up, we can go back to those now. Sherri shows the race day and different local and regional riders from the state kind of traversing through the hillsides and then through the barns, which is really fun. I think that's Jim Cochran there. There's the bridge we built. So those are some of the old barns I mentioned earlier. And there's the course going right through the middle of it. So really fun days, and a nice compliment to, local riders to train for events like the bigger Jingle Cross that's hosted in Iowa City. So we're really proud to be able to have that as a venue.
We do call it Creekside Cross, not necessarily Creekside Cross cyclocross, because we also do cross-country running, cross-country skiing, all of that's available out there. It's probably one of my favorite places to go and walk, because you do get the vertical challenge as well as the just anytime you walk on grass, I think, or jog on grass, you get a different feel for and a different type of workout. So it's one of my favorite places to go and do that as well. We were the first permanent cyclocross course in Johnson County, and we were the third permanent cyclocross course in the state. So, and we have people travel from quite a ways to come and ride it, and everyone really enjoys it. Alex, why don't you take the lead on the flow trail?
Sure. So Creekside Flow Trail, this would be the third natural surface trail facility that we have, all connected through the Clear Creek Trail. So yeah, the Clear Creek has become both a connected trail, but also a corridor to access all these other trail networks that we've created. And our latest is Creekside Flow Trail. This has been super fun, and the demand for this project or impetus came from all the usage we saw at Woodpecker. So through the MPO, we monitored trail traffic at Woodpecker, and just over the years saw more and more use. So with congestion, we decided we would step up our game and create a flow trail network. It's 2 miles of flow trail of varying difficulties. You can see the map here, and the various colors represent the difficulties. So similar to ski resorts, these type of trails follow the same difficulty rating. So the green would be an easier, and blue more difficult, and then black advanced trail. So the user can kind of build up to their skill level. So Woodpecker would be, very green level riding, and then as they come out west to try this out, they can test their skills. We've had a lot of great partners in this project, and this is a professional built trail. So we went through a process to hire a contractor to help us build this. This image below is one of the trail builders actually testing one of the features. This is a guy named Spencer, and he's a trail builder for this company, but he's also an amazing rider. So I thought I'd put that image on to see what you can do there if you advance your skills. So I just got a few slides to share some of the experience out there. If you could advance, Sherri. Here's some of the green and blue trail. This is a little bit more beginner, but it gets people out there to experience some of the berms and downhill flow trail experiences. There's some bridges we built around trees. It's really fun to navigate, and you can see some youth on the bottom there enjoying it. So it's built for all users, all ages. Super exciting. Next slide highlights some of the black trail. We call it sand crane because we ran into a lot of sand veins in the soil types. So we ended up sourcing some limestone, like repurposed limestone, and armored the trail surface with it. So as you're climbing, you're actually riding on top of local limestone. And this is a technique that's used in a lot of places out west or even in the east, where they have this type of stone readily available. And so some of these trail builders, they're working all over the nation, like in Bentonville, Arkansas, and we took on that technique to build this trail over the sand. So it's kind of fun, really awesome experience, really technical experience. And then the image on the upper right hand is a feature that was built over like an old car, and you can ride over there or not. So all these features are technical areas. You also have an option to do an alternate route, so you're not forced upon that, and you can build up to that experience. So really fun stuff there. I think the next
I would
slide.
echo that. I'm not like mountain bike riding wasn't something that I had ever done. I have a hybrid and I have a road bike, and so I've borrowed some mountain bike several times and gone out and ridden, and just absolutely love the flow trail. It's a different kind of exercise. It's a different kind of experience, as well as a little bit of an adrenaline rush. So it's really great. And so any age, any ability can go out and ride. This slide, I just wanted to just kind of brag about our staff for a minute here. We have repurposed anything from the black poles you see there are the old light posts off of Highway 6 that we're using for bridge construction. Alex talked about limestone. We've repurposed a lot of limestone block that has come out of things like when the library was redone. We took all of that corners limestone and saved it, and now we're using it in different places. They used a piece of the old Oak Hill Cemetery sign. The foundation was dug out, and we replaced that Oak Hill Cemetery sign this past summer, and then they used the foundation stone, cut it in half, and used it out at the flow trail as well. So we're trying to reuse and recycle as much as we can in the community to save costs as well. And our staff built all the bridges. I would say add that to, we didn't put the bridges in our contract with our builder. Total cost on our flow trail as far as out of pocket to a contractor was $72,000. But we also built our own bridges and used our own staff time to do those, or else it would have been much higher. The Woodpecker single track trail, we talked a little bit about that from a winter perspective, but we have a few images of what that's like during the year. This one, I need to take this picture when they freshly mowed. Typically keep back about 2 foot mowed on each side of our single track trail. But what I love about the Woodpecker single track trail is that it takes you places that you normally aren't going to see. It gets you to much quieter spaces in the Clear Creek Greenbelt, gets you off the beaten path and gets you views like this, where you can stop and take in the water and really kind of get a little bit more up close and personal. Takes you through some wet meadow areas and some wetland areas as well. And gets you to the point where we also have started to put in mapping and try to make sure nobody feels lost out there. And I'll let Alex talk about construction here.
Sure. So with Woodpecker, it's going through a lot of wetlands, and it's a directional trail. So we want users to use it clockwise. In doing that, we've had to make sure they're continuous loops. So if you go back to the previous slide real quick, they're designed to basically be loops, and in doing so there's an east and a west side basically. Like Sherri mentioned, we've got wayfinding signage throughout the network with you are here points. You can kind of see those in the maps on the left. And so, like I said, they're placed throughout the network. That way people can navigate and don't get lost. Because once you get back into some of these areas, I mean, you're a mile in or half a mile in some cases. So we want to make sure people don't get frustrated. And then in doing these looped trails, directional loop trails, we're faced with wetland areas. So to traverse those, we created boardwalks. And this has been really fun to research and develop, because just with how we manage wetlands, we can't, the structure themselves can't be invasive. So we can't with the pan system, and we're sourcing these pans, and you can see these below here, these metal structures. They just sit on top of a wetland. So we're building these in the winter months or the dry times when we can get equipment and materials into these. And they're designed to just kind of float over the wetlands, which is really neat experience, a really fun riding experience. This one here shown is, I think, 350 feet long. And so, you know, and it curves a couple times. And so we've been able to build these throughout both networks. Here's an image of it completed. And as you can see, this is in a dry time, but earlier in this presentation, there was an image of it during wet times. Here's the skills area, and this is in the west side of Woodpecker, and gives riders an opportunity to get their skills up before going out to the flow trail, basically. There's some curved, raised boardwalks. There's some different slides coming up showing that. This is Kevin Seidel from I-Corps kind of pointing fingers and showing our staff how to build these things. And we were able to secure a grant from the Community Foundation of Johnson County to build these. Here's a youth rider on one of the features. And again, there's an option for a drop off on this particular feature. We can see that on the next slide, maybe not. More youth riders, and these were sourced from progressive bike ramps out of Joplin, Missouri, which is north of Bentonville, Arkansas. And these are widely used down there also in their trail network. And again, funded in part by the Community Foundation of Johnson County. Here's an opening day we had with some youth. You can see the drop off on the left here, but again, people can practice their skills, build up their skills on these technical features before they come out to the flow trail.
And this area, with all of this, and if you're interested in getting into these more technical features, you also take on more liability, I think, as a city. But we tried to really use at your own risk and remind riders of what kind of skills they need. I wouldn't say that we're completely done with signage. I think we find every year how to tweak it and how to make sure people understand what they're getting into out there in the community. Otherwise, for the Clear Creek Trail, we are continue to be under construction. We see the light at the end of the tunnel in 2024. We were hoping 2022 was going to be the end of construction on Clear Creek, but with COVID-19, the Iowa Department of Transportation is now saying they're about 2 years behind on the interchange there at I-80 and 380. Or I shouldn't say behind, that was their original schedule, and then they had money to advance and get ahead, and then unfortunately that hasn't worked out for them because of COVID-19. So we're looking at 2024. If it can be fall of 23, I'd be doing a happy dance, and I continue to try and push them on that. But down at the bottom of the screen, you can see where we are ending right now. That's the dead end. Before we head under the ramps, we'll be going under 6 off ramps, or I-80. We'll go under 6 structures there. And then as you go up to the middle north side of this picture, you see the bridge that crosses over and the trail done then out by the West Corps area in Coralville. And then we'll advance to the north and go under 380 and go on over to Tiffin. So all of our connections still need to be done, and all of our trail is in place in between. So we're looking forward to the day that we get to do that work. Down at the bottom of the screen, you can see also some improvements that the Department of Transportation did. You can see the riprap along that curve, and I should have included a few more slides on the work they did out at the Clear Creek stretch between here and Altmeyer Farm. They have improved about 1,900 feet of stream, either with J-hooks in the water, with armoring some banks so that they're not eroding, and/or they have put in over 200 boulders into Clear Creek in between those areas. So they add ripple effect and add interest to the water. They put in a kayak launch for us at just north of Creekside Ballpark, and a parking area that we will do it's just going to be grass parking, but they've graded it out and it's ready for us to put in limestone blocks and signage, and another area to put kayaks in. So we've got this really great partnership with the DOT going out here at the Clear Creek Greenbelt to not only, we have all the trail system, but now we have a improved water trail system. And we went out this summer and kayaked this Water was running about 100 CSF that day. I would say, or cubic feet, CFS. And I would say if you're running somewhere between 100 and 120, that's probably about the minimum you want of cubic feet per second. Something a little bit more along the lines of 150 or 160 gives you a better kayak experience, and you move a little bit farther down. I got caught on a few sandbars, but it wasn't horrid. The Iowa River Trail Corridor construction update. That is the connection from Crandick Park in Iowa City over to the Clear Creek Trail, and going across Clear Creek to head, so we head north and the Iowa Corridor Trail continues, and we head west from the Clear Creek Trail there. So this piece of trail used to be known as Crandick Trail, and we have now connected with Iowa City to call this the Iowa River Corridor Trail, because it's the only piece in Coralville of the Iowa River Corridor Trail. And when that's done, it'll be over 17 miles of continuous trail. And we were, I think, the last link, if I remember right, to get this put back in. So this we lost in 2008 flooding, had money and then lost money kind of back and forth several times over the years, depending on how much money our flood improvements took. So finally, we've been able to do this piece with transportation enhancement funds. And here's a sheet pile picture. They are working on abutments right now, and the crane came in just before Christmas, and they're getting ready, as they're doing abutments, they're getting ready to also be able to put the big bridge pieces in here this spring and swing them into place. You can see I'm not even sure what that's called. They're in the middle of the creek, but that was built as part of our flood improvements, waiting for these bridges to be put in place here in the future. But the support structures are there, and we're excited about getting that back into play. And that'll be done July, August of this year. So in 21, we will be able to finish this piece of our area. What's up for 2021 for Coralville? I'm going to have Alex talk about some amenities we're going to be putting in at the flow trail.
Yeah, thanks, Sherri. So bouncing, I know we're kind of all over Coralville right now, but bouncing back to the west side at Creekside. With the success of this project, I just want to thank the MPO again for our partnership with them. We installed trail traffic counters there, and we got some really strong numbers. I think it was 5 months we counted since we did the soft opening at the flow trail. We had 16,000 trips on the climbing trail, which would be the main way to get to the rest of the network. So I think that's a really awesome number. There were some spikes for the grand opening events, and then just over the course of 5 months, 16,000 trips. I mean, those aren't unique rides. Those, some of those could be the same person doing, 2 or 3 rides in the same day, but I still think that's a really awesome number. So with that in mind, we want to make sure we have some amenities out there, and these will serve both of the natural surface trails out there, both the cross course, the flow trail, and then they can also serve hikers that are, out there with their families at a ball game that day, or people coming from the Clear Creek paved trail. So we want to make sure there's amenities available for the public out there in the community. You can see this kind of bird's eye view we created with Bolton and Mink. They're helping us design some of the stuff, and it gives you an overview of the ball fields, the parking lot there, and then some of the timber where the flow trail is, and then you can see the cross course kind of to the left hand side there, and then the barns over to the far right. But we have plans for 3 different amenity areas coming up here in 21. So the next slide shows one that we do have funding for. This will be a Trailhead Plaza at the beginning of the climbing trail, which is how you access most of the flow trail. So we were granted a grant from the Wellmark Foundation recently that helped fund this, a match grant. And at the plaza here, it'll be a viewing area. So families or riders can kind of set up, stretch, fill their water bottles with the water fountain that'll be installed there. You can see that on the far right hand side. And then there'll be some interpretive signage where they can see, how to navigate the trail network. And then it'll be also for end of trip too. Like people can set up and stretch again and get ready for their next ride. And also just watch riders. We're positioning it in such a way that you can see the rest of the trail as far as the end of it, and then some of the barns too. It's just a really pretty property. So we want to make sure we stay with that aesthetic, and you can kind of see with the design there, the preliminary designs, we're keeping with that farm aesthetic. So we're really excited about this plaza coming up, and it'll provide a gathering space and just a really nice way to access this trail network. We got the water line ran, and we're going to start working with Bolton and Macon Design this month. There's also plans for some other observation areas at the top. So when you get to the top of this property, hiking and biking, there's a really cool view of Coralville and Tiffin in the horizon line there. You can kind of see all the city, and you can see the interchange, just some of the views that are really neat. So we want to make sure that once you get to the top there, there's also an area to rest and kind of set up and just enjoy being out in nature. And then again at the bottom, we're looking at maybe doing a bike wash station. So end of trip usage where your bike parking's there, and then there's water stations to spray your bike off and your trip. So really excited about these amenities and people using our flow trail and the rest of our trail amenities and infrastructure this year. So I think that's it for amenities and what we have. Is there anything else that we need to go over, Sherri?
I think so. Thanks for letting us share that. Any questions?
Emily's monitoring questions. I just wanted to say last week on our Zoom, we had Brad Friedhoff from the county. And I think one thing that a lot of people are very excited about with, we think of the Clear Creek Trail, we think of Coralville, but of course, Tiffin's got its section. It's just they're disconnected because of the interstate. And so when Brad was here last week, he talked about, your connection that's going to come into Tiffin, and folks who are driving down 380 and 218, people are familiar with seeing those soccer fields off to the west, and that trail picks up right there, and then it continues out and will reach Kent Park. So as we were saying in last week's Zoom, in just a few years, you can go down to Terry Trueblood and get on your bike and ride your bike all the way out to Kent Park, and except for a short section on Normandy Drive where there are no houses, so it's in effect a bike trail, you're all on bike trail. You have to cross a few intersections, but really you're on bike trail that whole way. It's very exciting.
It's amazing. Have we figured out the mileage yet?
No,
from Terry Trueblood all the way to Kent Park?
No, but we can do that.
It effectively becomes a destination. It becomes a driver that we can get out there and talk about with different people. We're always looking for places to ride, and I just think we have enough things to do here. It's kind of becomes like Root River.
Right. And then I think too, with the connection of the Iowa River Trail, north into the Hoover Nature Trail and into the Cedar Valley Trail. I mean, people have, which runs all the way to Cedar Rapids and then on to Waterloo. That's a huge opportunity to bring people into the community and to give them, they could ride down and then stay overnight and then do the trail out to the Kent Park, and, just a lot of opportunities.
So I'm not seeing any questions in the chat or in the Q&A. Maybe we'll give people a minute here to see if any questions come up. I did want to ask, at the Creekside Flow Trail, you guys had talked about wayfinding signage a little bit, but are there signs to let you know which route is the most difficult, the beginner, intermediate, and advanced?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we can still share the screen, but I can send the map or each. So the whole network, it's 2 miles, and it's divided into segments. So on the map, if you want to try to find it back there somewhere, Sherri. There's small white dots at the beginning and end of each segment. And so throughout the network, similarly to Woodpecker, we've been able to put wayfinding signs up. There it is. You can see the little white dots there, Emily?
Yes, yeah.
So those would be the beginnings of each segment. And so at each one of those white dots, there is this exact trail with, or this exact map with a "you are here" point on it. So again, wayfinding, and then it tells you if you want to enter that or not. And there's always an option to just continue on and just stay on the green. There's also that white kind of connector trail that you can always exit any part of the network also. So very easy to navigate. We made sure we had wayfinding signs in place out there also, so people wouldn't get frustrated. Yeah,
Sure.
very important.
We did have one question come in. Could you provide some reference points for the trails? I'm not sure of locations.
I was going to say, Emily, if you could bring up that screen that we ended on. I think our map does a. Can you bring that up?
It'll take me a minute to find. I think here we go.
I think I can talk while you're looking for the information. I think for most people, they access the Clear Creek Trail at Tom Harkin Trailhead and either go east or west. If you're looking for a longer, so that is off of Camp Cardinal Boulevard, 719 Camp Cardinal Boulevard. But if you're looking for trying to get to one end or the other and do the whole trail, which is about, we've got, I think we're up to 4.8 miles in length. If you did one to the other. So a good place to park is at the Creekside Ballpark, Creekside Cross there on this map. And then you can go all the way east and then make your way back all the way west. Or we have some mapping with some different loops that we've put out, particularly to our hotels in the community. So, and that's on 340th Street. We're at 3550 340th Street for the Creekside Sports Park. So that's an easy access location, as well as we have parking now at the old Hawkeye Ready Mix site. So you can jump on at the Hawkeye Ready Mix site and be able to go all the way from east to west and pass under First Avenue, ride over to Biscuit Creek, and then it jogs down and takes you all the way then on the Clear Creek Trail. So those are a couple kind of points where you can get on the trail. It's got parking right there. There's restrooms available at Creekside Ballpark and at Tom Harkin Trailhead. If you went all the way up to the Marriott and the Eye River Landing on the Eye River Corridor Trail, which there'll be there's a chunk not open this summer until this summer to get the Eye River Corridor piece that I was talking about under construction, but you can detour by getting on the First Avenue Trail and then get back under there at the bridge. So, but that also has parking, restrooms, all of the amenities you need to kind of either end or start your bike experience.
So just, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sherri, up at the Creekside Cross, so that's on the far west end up by the interchange there. So for people to access that, they would take Deer Creek Road from 2nd Street Highway 6. That's how you'd get there. And you have parking there. There's also, not officially, but there's often places where you can park if you access the trail near James Street where that orange arrow is. You may be able to find, you know, parking at a business that's closed or something there. The Tom Harkin Trailhead, when the weather's nice, and especially now during COVID, I know that that parking area filled up pretty quickly. But then there's some parking again, like further to the east, you know, near like where it says Ned Ashton, there's some university parking that in the off hours you can use. But that, so you can see on that map, you know, the Tom Harkin trailhead, and you see the little mountain bikers for the person with the question. That's where those woodpecker trails are. On either side of Camp Cardinal Boulevard, and then the flow trail is to the far west. And then when Sherri was talking about that trail extension to connect over, if you think about Rocky Shore Drive, if you're on Rocky Shore in Iowa City and you go under the railroad bridge, there's, if on the north side of that railroad bridge, there's a trail, right now, a trail section that's disconnected, and that's where people can ride. It allows you to avoid being on 2nd Street, which is a little busier. But I think what a lot of people don't know about is all those neat little underpasses you guys have done under 2nd Street, and under the railroad. You can see that rainbow tunnel. That's one of my favorite things, just that little painting of a rainbow, you know, so that it's really easy to connect from Iowa City over into the Clear Creek Trail. You don't have to spend a lot of time riding on the street, and you don't have to do, if you don't like crossing those busy intersections, you don't have to. There's a way that you can get under all those streets, so that's really handy. I hope that was helpful to the person with the question. Do we have other questions, Emily? I'll click.
We do. Are there walking trails at Creekside Flow Trail and Clear Creek, or only for bikers?
Creekside Cross is, the mode path is typically about 20 feet wide through all of that area. So we encourage walkers, joggers to stay to the right and bikers to the left. And we don't have much conflict. So that's, we encourage people to use that for both purposes. The flow trail gets a little bit trickier because it is an 18 to 24 inch path downhill. Bikes are moving pretty quickly. So we don't usually encourage people to walk on the flow trail.
Okay, and that kind of gets to, we had another question about the width of the Creekside Flow Trail, which you had just answered, and then rules of the road for hikers versus bikers.
And just, I don't know if that one question, if they were not understanding that the Clear Creek Trail itself, the hard surface trail, you know, that runs from around, I mean, most people pick it up like between Ned Ashton or between the graduate student housing area, and then all the way out to Camp Cardinal, and then out to the flow trail. That is all multi-use except for in the winter, when you want the walkers to stay away and the winter sports to use it. But the rest of the year, it's open, it's wonderful, and lots of people use it for walking and jogging.
Right.
And then the final question, are there any future plans for bridge crossing over the river at the Coralville Marriott to the east into Iowa City?
Yeah, we hope so. We have a place and we have a concept. I think we've tried 3 times to get a grant to do that, and haven't been successful yet, but we continue to try and would love to be able to connect. As part of our riverfront master plan, it would connect there just a little bit north of the Marriott across the river, and then we could get over to Waterworks Park very directly.
And for people who don't know, like, what you can do for now is you can take that Iowa River Power, the ride across there, and go through the area where the dog park and the Frisbee park are, and you do have to do a little on-street riding, but then you can go under the interstate into Waterworks Prairie Park. So this would be a more direct connection, but you can make that connection along some pretty low volume streets.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions.
If we don't have any more questions, I really want to thank Sherri and Alex. It's all really exciting and very impressive. I think people are really happy to have all these bike amenities available, you know, where you don't have to drive way out of town to get to them, and they're really first class facilities. So thank you so much for presenting them. I want to let people know that we are recording these Zooms, and they will eventually be available for other people who want to watch them. And so if you like us, the MPO on Facebook, you'll get an announcement when we have those available, as well as if you like us on Instagram. And next week, we'll have another Zoom at this time with the folks from the bike library, focusing on bicycling through the winter, how to stay warm, the best routes to take, all that kind of stuff, how to keep your bike in shape. And I know Audrey Buhmeyer from the bike library is a big fan of the Woodpecker Trail and the Flow Trail. So I'm sure she'll be talking about those again. But again, I just want to remind people that this is part of the Trails to Table Challenge. So if you liked it, if you are liking these Zooms, if you're interested in the maps that we're putting out, to please go to mpojc.org. And if you scroll all the way down in the lower left and click the Trails to Table link, that'll get you to all of the maps that we've been doing, including the snowplow map for the entire metro area. And it will also get you to that link where you can donate to our local food pantries. We'll run that through the end of January. We know the need is really there. Lots of people give during the holidays, but if we could spur you to just make a $5 or $10 donation to the food pantries, that would be great. And that's all we have today, but thank you so much, Sherri and Alex.